morning. Today's December 11th, I think. And this is a video in response to a friend of mine on Facebook. Ryan, he and I were talking about various things. And one of them was the creation of the universe, evolution, things like that. And he asked a question that I had been asking for years, and I'm sure some of you still ask the same question. And that question was basically, what was it like before the universe began? Things like that. What was there? Because, I mean, that's a fairly reasonable question if you think about it. You want to know how the universe got here, right? So now, how is the universe like the digital clock I have with me? Well, for starters, the way that we describe events in the universe require two basic, I'd say, components, and that's time and space. If we're trying to define a velocity, we need a direction and a speed. You can't have a velocity without direction or speed. With respect to the universe, you can't really just give me a location of an event. You also have to give me a time of an event. Otherwise, the location is no longer really a valid means of effectively explaining the event. Like a football game, for example. If I had purchased tickets to a football game, I need both the time and the place. I need to know both the time and the place in order for me to actually get to that football game and watch the game and enjoy it. Otherwise, if you just give me a time, how do I know where the event takes place? I mean, if I just said the football game is at 6 o'clock and I was trying to get there, it'd be very difficult to get somewhere if I didn't know where it was. And conversely, if you just give me a location, like, where's the football game? Oh, it's at this stadium, or whatever local stadium happens to be nearest to you. It's kind of a difficult task to get to that stadium when you don't know the time. I mean, you can get there, but what if a football game starts at like 3 o'clock and you get there at 6 and it's over already? So you need both time and location, or time and space, to describe events. So now that we've covered very briefly what you need to describe an event, or the basics, at least for the purposes of the video, what you need to describe a time and an event, what actually happened, or what came before the observable universe? What was it like? How did it get here? And like I had mentioned earlier, it was a good question for a while for me, until probably 2 or 3 years ago. I'd taken AP Physics, well, probably 4 years ago now that I think of it. Wow. Anyway, when I had taken AP Physics in high school, and we had talked about relativistic events and other just kind of concepts that I'm not going to cover right now, but we had talked about what some people refer to as the Big Bang, and whether or not you believe that or not is entirely up to you. But the reason that you can't answer the question of what came before the universe is because time and space didn't exist before the universe, which is leading into the clock analogy here. Without time and space, you cannot determine events. So you can't say 5 seconds before the universe began, X happened. Quite simply because there's no time for X to happen in. You can't say 5 seconds before the universe began, two particles collided, because no particles existed, because there was no space for them to exist in, and there was no time for you to judge 5 seconds before the universe began. So here we got the clock, and this is a very crude analogy for a couple of reasons. Obviously, this clock is quite simple when you look at it compared to the universe. Quite simply, I mean, even the best computer models we have only give very rough estimates of what the universe was like. We think we know, we think we know, we think we don't know exactly if this is right, and things like that. But it's all part of the process of determining what's fact and what's just science fiction at this point. So the clock here, what we got here is just a basic digital clock, and as you can see, it's kind of blurry. It's off right now. Okay, so there's no time on this, and if we equate the clock face, the little LCD screen here, to the universe, you can't tell me what time it is on this clock face when the clock isn't on. Okay, so for example, if I gave you this clock right now so you can see it, and I asked you what time, like what time is it right now? See if I can get this into focus. Yeah, lovely camera. And I said, what time is it? And I'll give you a minute to look at it. And you wouldn't quite be able to tell me for, well, the reason that it's not on. I mean, you can't really tell me what time it is because there's no time there, which is quite similar to the problem with the universe because time didn't exist. So to the clock face, the universe, time doesn't exist. You can't tell me what time it is on the clock face because time doesn't exist. Whereas you can't tell me what events were like in pre-universe conditions or describe how the universe, or what caused the universe to pop into existence or expand or explode, because time itself didn't exist. So the question of what was the universe like, or how did the universe get here, or what was before the universe, really doesn't make any sense because the premise is flawed. You're assuming you can describe what happened before the universe began, before time and space. Now we know the time. When I plugged in the clock, the universe began, and now we can start determining events based on the clock face. If I asked you what time it is now, it's 8:26, which isn't even close. But, I mean, for a clock that's been off for probably 8 months, it's okay. Just that the universe cannot be described before it existed. Just like time cannot be perceived before a clock is turned on. I mean, arguably, you can say, well, the clock will default to 12:22 or 8888 or 000, and I mean, that's again with the programming thing, which doesn't quite hold because we're not looking at how the universe works. We're looking at how to describe it before it existed, which are two completely different things. If I were to take this clock and smash it into little pieces, you couldn't tell me the time on the clock. I mean, that's basically what would happen before the universe began. You have a bunch of stuff, and something happens, and then you get this. My rudimentary understanding is, I believe, sufficient to get simple points across like this. So, I guess I'll find out what you guys think. So let me know in the comments if I made any serious mistakes, like something. So anyway, comment, like, subscribe, do something. But give me feedback either way. Alright?